Okay, this is the final question for now. It's almost 4 o'clock and I'll be starting my presentation soon. We will be having another Q&A later after the first presentation. So, let me take a sip of my coffee and welcome everybody. We have 170 people joining us here today. Maybe I first introduce myself one more time. My name is Halldór Berg, and I am the country representative of Euraxis in China. And I also want to introduce that with me here today, we have my other colleagues from the Euraxis China team, Anna. Maybe Anna would like to say hi.
Yeah, hello everybody. Very nice to meet you all virtually. I work along with Halldór in Euraxis China as country representative, and we also have Vanessa as part of the team.
Thank you, Anna. And Vanessa, or Yuhui, she's our colleague also in the China office. If Vanessa would like to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa. It's very glad to meet you here via our webinar. And please remember, we still have QA session, and you can put your questions in the chat box, and we can answer it later.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And also, if you would like to ask questions in Chinese, feel free. I mean, like our testimony later today is going to be speaking in Chinese. You can ask him directly in Chinese. Also, Vanessa is very good at translating for me. I also understand a little bit, so I can normally go along. So this is going to be, that's going to be totally fine. So feel free to do that. Before I continue and get into the presentation, I want to draw your attention to the thing that is on the screen right now. So this is a survey that is going to be going on throughout the whole webinar. You can join the survey by scanning the QR code that is on the screen, or you can go to the website that is on the top of the screen. I could also maybe, let me see, I can put it in the chat box now. You can also copy paste it here. So you can put it on your phone or your computers. Maybe if you're on another phone or computer, you can put it there. You can go into the survey, and when you're inside the survey, you can answer our questions. And this is very good because this allows me to react to your situation. I would really like to be able to know who my audience are, so I can kind of react to you better. This presentation on how to apply for Mars Skłodowski Actions individual fellowship is not the first time that we do this. We've been doing this for several years in different cities all around China, and but this is the first time we do it as a webinar. And I think that's really good. It means that we have a lot more chance to get more people, and we have already like almost 200 people here, which is more than ever before. And we can get people from a lot of places in China where we normally don't have. But the problem with the webinar is that it's really hard for me to interact with you. I don't really know who you are so much or what you're doing. So, and if you have any, what is your background? So this will help us with that. The first question is only for a little bit for fun. It's have you ever been to Europe before? I'm just asking it just to kind of see if people can participate in the survey, just like as a warm up. As it is right now, most people have been to Europe before, with 23 having been to Europe, only 7 not been to Europe. I mean, I have a feeling that there probably are plenty of people here that have not been to Europe before, but don't worry about this. This is totally anonymous, so we don't register. There's no way for us to know who applied, like who says what, or so that it should be totally fine. So feel free to go through this and answer honestly. So just like to give you a little bit of feeling how it goes, I'm going to put the next question right now. Here we are. And now I should be able to go to the next question. So the next question, it should be on your phone if you go. Yeah, there it comes. All right, fantastic. So the question that I'm asking now is like, why did you join the webinar today? And we have quite a bit of people that says that they're planning to apply. Then there's like also several people that they just say that they're curious. And we have a couple of people that they're just coming from for other reasons. Nobody is saying that they've already started, but I know that in our chat box earlier, there were people saying, they have already applied before and so on. So there might be somebody like this. So this is very interesting to me. Let me go to the next question. I know that not everybody will have time to answer everything, but it's just to get a little bit feedback about how things are going. I'm gonna go here. And and the next question is asking, have you ever tried to apply for the individual fellowship before? And most people have not yet at least. And there's a couple of people that have tried before unsuccessfully. We will have, there's nobody that says that they have tried it successfully, but we will have a testimony later from people that have, so they can share their experience with you. And the next question. And yeah, this is a question for me to understand how to tackle this webinar. We were asking how is the English level of people in the crowd. A lot of people say that they speak very good English. Many of you say okay. A couple of you say like not so good. So this is good for me to know. I will try to speak clearly. I will try to speak understandably. Next question. Yeah, there's also people here today that do not speak any Chinese, maybe. I mean, we're going over the registration list. We saw that there was a lot of people that have never, that seem to be not Chinese. So I want to check out if there was anybody here that do not speak Chinese, because later there's going to be, after 1 hour, we're going to have a testimony from a researcher that has that is going to do his testimony in Chinese. We will try our best to kind of communicate what is going on there for the people that do not understand. The slides are going to be in English, so that's going to be good. But it doesn't seem to be a lot of people that say no, so I don't think this is going to be a huge problem. But let's see, I might ask again later to just check, because we want to know if that's happening, just to make sure that nobody feels excluded. And one more question here. Thank you so much for participating in the survey this way. It's really, really helpful for us to understand how to do this presentation today. So the question, and this is the last question before I start today, is like, is if you know what Euraccess is. And Euraccess is the organization that I belong to, and Anna and Vanessa both belong to, and we have an office in Beijing. We've been in China for 10 years. I see that very few people say that they know us really well, but few people know us a little bit. I mean, like, surely you must have at least heard about us because you are participating in our webinar, so you must have seen it on our WeChat channel or somewhere else. But not a lot of people say that they don't know us so well, or not at all. That's good. I will explain that a little bit, so you at least know who we are and why we are talking and sharing what we're doing. So I will now go here, and I'll change to my presentation mode. Starting the presentation, I'll start by explaining a little bit what Euraccess is, and I also put here a little QR code on the website that explains that you can scan if you want to join our WeChat group for this meeting. If you join the WeChat group, it could be quite nice, because if you will have some ideas later, if you will have some questions or comments after the event, the WeChat group could be an excellent platform for you to ask them, for example, tomorrow or the day after. The idea was to invite all the people to the WeChat group before the event, but unfortunately, it takes very long time to add everybody, because there was a lot more people attending than we anticipated. So I was not able to add everybody, but instead I just put the QR code here, so you can go ahead. So on to what is Euraccess. So Euraccess is an initiative from the European Commission, and So the European Commission is the main body, that execution body of the European Union, and Euraccess is, in very short, we have an office in China, and what we do is that we help researchers that are based in China to connect with Europe. So we help people to find collaboration with European researchers, or if they want to go to Europe to do research in Europe, or things like this. So we try to facilitate the mobility of researchers, and we have like a network of people. It's about 4,000 people right now. And if you're in the Euraccess network, we help you to connect with researchers in Europe. And a little bit about where Euraccess come from. So Euraccess is part of an initiative of what is called the European Research Area. And the European Research Area is, or ERA, is sort of the joint scientific environment of the whole European Union and associated countries, more than 40 countries. So if you if you compare like the biggest research areas in the world, you could look at the United States and you could look at China, and then you could look at the European research area, which combines the research areas of countries like France and Germany and Switzerland and Norway and etc. And the European research area is a very excellent place to do research. It's some of the best universities in the world. It has the biggest research output of any single area in the world in terms of publications, and we also have very excellent science in Europe, as you could see if you look at like how many Nobel Prize winners are coming from Europe, etc. And the European research area is very wide and it's very vast. It has a lot of big different things to it. We have the European Union, which have a lot of research funding, but we also have all the different member states like Germany and France that have their own system. And then there's a different scheme that goes on and so on. And this is quite complicated, let's say. It can be a little bit of a jungle to navigate. But that is why Euraccess exists. And Euraccess is sort of like your gateway to the European research area. It includes the European research area, and the Euraccess portal, the Euraccess has like three main pillars. The first one is the Euraccess portal. The second one are the Euraccess centers, and the third one is Euraccess worldwide. So Euraccess is a lot bigger than just Euraccess in China. We also have Euraccess centers all over Europe. There are more than 500 Euraccess centers situated in every European country. So we have like 40 or 50 of them in Germany, the same number in France, and so on. And their purpose is basically to help researchers that are coming from abroad, from other places, people like you. They try to help them to make it easy to be mobile, to be easy to get into these countries. They give them all kinds of services for mobility. So we all know that it's very important for researchers to be mobile, be able to go internationally, participate in collaboration, but we also know it's very time consuming and difficult to go to a new country. So the European research area tries to fix this by using Euraccess. And Euraccess centers are like actually people that work all over Europe, and they're there to help you. But we also have a Euraccess portal, which is you can find at euraccess.org. This is a website from the European Commission where you can get a lot of different information that will help researchers like you guys. So the Euraccess portal, first of all, it has the jobs.euraccess.org. So this is the biggest job and funding portal in Europe and probably the whole world. This is where you find all the different opportunities. There's tens of thousands of them. Every day there's thousands of different opportunities coming through. So this is a very good place to start if you're looking for funding opportunities in Europe or you're looking for research jobs in Europe. But also, if you are going to a country in Europe, like let's say Germany, you can go to the portal of the Germany, of Euraccess in Germany, and they will give you special information about how to go to Germany, how to do research in Germany, and so on. Then finally, we have the Euraccess worldwide. And these are our offices outside of Europe. So we have over 500 offices in Europe, but we also have offices in places around the world where there's a lot of research going on and Europe wants to stay connected to it. So we have offices in America, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, Australia, India, Singapore, a lot of places, and including China. So Euraccess has had an office in China since 2009, so already for more than 10 years. And our purpose is to kind of help researchers in China and European researchers in China to connect to the European research area, and also people in the European research area to connect with Chinese researchers. So this is kind of our job. And the way that we do that is that we help people to find information, how to go between China and Europe, how to collaborate. We help people to find funding and jobs. We do a lot of help with partnering, where we try to help people to find potential research partners. And then we do all kinds of networking, sharing of intelligence, and we share experience like we're going to be doing today. And the main ways that we're going to be doing this is that we have a website. You can see it here in the corner. It's china.euraccess.org. And the website has all the information that we do. We also have all kinds of different newsletters and publications. If you're a member of Euraccess in China, one of the 4,000 members, we will send you every week an email with all the newest funding and different things that are happening. So if you feel a little bit confused and we tend to forget all this information, well, we try to remind people. So for example, if you had been part of the Euraccess network, you would have been reminded by us a couple of weeks back that the Boris Godov Security Actions individual fellowship call is coming up. So if you will not apply this year, but you're part of Euraccess, next year, if you might be in a better position to apply, we will remind you so you can see this kind of information. And finally, we also have all kinds of events. So we do events mostly to either share experiences or to create opportunities for Chinese and European researchers to connect with each other. So we do networking events, we do researchers nights that we've done in Shanghai and Beijing and Shenzhen and Guangzhou. We've done it in different places all around China. There's normally like 100 researchers, and we have some good time to an opportunity for networking. We also do workshops, conferences, other things like this. So this is Euraccess China. The purpose of today is not to only talk about Euraccess, but I want to give you this background. This is a really great tool for you if you want to kind of develop your network of contact with Europe. If you want to keep track of what is happening in the Sino-European research, or if you want to find funding or career opportunities. So if you want to find us on WeChat, you can scan this QR code here, and you can subscribe to our WeChat channel. So that is that. I'm going to take this now to the screen again. And I want to ask you another question. Let me see. Here we are. And let's go to the right question. Okay, so let's, if you guys can answer this question for me. You can see here, have you ever done research or studied in a foreign country? I see a lot of people here already have this experience. I can see that quite a bit of people say that they have either done research or studied in Europe. There's also several people that have done it in America, as well as in some other places. There might be also Europeans here today that have done it in China, for example. But also some people might not have gone abroad before. So this is very helpful for me, because next I want to talk about how research happens in Europe. So let's go back to my presentation. And yeah, so let's just start by talking about the research landscape and how funding happens inside the European research area. And just to begin with, to give you some clear idea how it works, we have like two different pillars. The first pillar is the European Union side, which is called Horizon 2020. And after this year, it's going to be called Horizon Europe. And then we also have all the different member states like Germany and France and Romania and Italy, who are also have their own funding schemes. So the Horizon 2020 is the biggest funding scheme in the whole world, with about 80 to 100 billion euros available. But even that is only a small part of the funding in Europe, because the Horizon 2020 is very small compared to the combined funding available in every European country. We in Euraccess can help you with both of these. We can teach you about Horizon 2020 and also individual European countries. Inside of Horizon 2020, you have like two different pillars. The first one that I think you should consider, the first one is sort of like individual grants. So that's like the individual fellowship. But then we also have different type of schemes, which is like institutional collaboration. And I just want to make sure that you understand that these two things are a little bit different. So individual grants are something like the Mario Skłodowska-Curie Actions or the European Research Council. But for the grants for how to say, for institutional collaboration are networks like the RISE, which is the Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, or even just like this big Horizon 2020 project. You might have heard about that China and Europe has something called the co-funding mechanism, where you can get like tens of millions of euros to do research collaboration together. This is always inside of this big Horizon 2020 projects. They're not really for individual researchers, they're for like big institutions, maybe 12 universities working together in China and Europe. So they are a little bit different, they work differently. But we are here today to talk about the individual grants. And there's a lot of opportunity for individuals inside the Horizon 2020. And in particular, we're going to be talking about this one here, which is the Marie Curie Actions. And but let's not forget that we also have a lot of different mobility schemes and funding available in every different country. Countries like Austria, Lithuania, Czechia, Portugal, they all have their own funding schemes. And there's going to be a lot of money available there, a lot of opportunities for researchers, mobility included. Like there's going to be similar programs like the Marie Curie, but only for Poland, for example. So if you want to look for more opportunities, this is something you should look into. Before I start talking about the Marie Curie, I want to talk about the European Research Council a little bit. This is also interesting maybe to you guys, because this funding is for research, for individual researchers that want to do a big project. So the whole idea here is that researchers that have a great idea, that is groundbreaking idea, they can get a lot of money to do long time projects with their team. And it can be like 2 million euros or 3 million euros to do like 3 to 5 year project, something like that. And this is not only something that is for senior professors, but there's also a whole part of the grant that is for like new researchers that just started, maybe 2 years. You can get this even just 2 years after you start your got your PhD. So this is definitely something you should remember. Maybe in the future would like to think about it. This is totally open to Chinese researchers also. It's open for everybody. But this is now I'm going to get to the main subject of the day, which is the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions. So this is sort of the biggest mobility and training program for researchers in the European Union, maybe even one of the biggest ones in the world that has to do with mobility and training. And the whole Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions has funded more than 130,000 researchers, and more than about 3,000 to 4,000 Chinese researchers have benefited from the scheme. So this is very good. It's very interesting. We have like two different things that we will discuss in particular today. One is the European Fellowship, and the other one is the Global Fellowship. These are the fellowships. The other actions of the of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions work a little bit differently. Just to really highlight here how this works. The Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions are not only about research itself. So the idea is not like ERC, the European Research Council, where you're just trying to get groundbreaking research. A big part of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions is to train researchers, to make them better researchers, to develop the career. So it's about training, it's about career development, And also it's about mobility. Inside the European Union, we really believe that it's really important for researchers to be mobile. So we want to help researchers from one country to go to another. So that is very useful for Chinese researchers that want to go to Europe, because this totally fits your situation. So the actions in total include the RISE, which is the Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, where universities work together to send people. It's the Innovative Training Networks, which are like a PhD schemes where PhD students can get a funding to be part of projects. It's the Co-Fund, which is like a project that includes member states in a certain way. But the one that we're going to be talking about today is the Individual Fellowship, or the IF. And the individual fellowships have a deadline, 9th of September 2020, and at 5 o'clock in Brussels. That would make 11 o'clock in the evening for Beijing. And very, very quickly, to kind of explain how this works. This is for individual researchers, like one person, like you, that has already some experience. So what does that mean? It means that you need to have at least PhD. So that's kind of like the definition of experienced researchers. Not for PhD students, there are other programs for them. And you apply, but you also need to apply with an institution. So if you're applying in Europe, you need to find a host institution in Europe to apply together with. So this one here is maybe the thing that is most important for you to understand. You cannot apply without a host institution. So your first step should always be the host institution. And this, when you apply together, you get a full fellowship to go to Europe to do your research for 1 to 2 years. This is very good. And who is eligible? They're like basically people that have a PhD degree. They are eligible. It's for all levels of researchers though, because there's also a lot of senior researchers that get this. And there's no age limits. We have a lot of researchers here in China that have been like older, more senior, and still gotten this. So this is also eligible to them. This is for people in any career states. And if you're a PhD student, there's other opportunities, but you could also maybe take notes today, because this could be good for you after you become a postdoc. There's also this possibility for non-doctoral track, people that are doing like medicine or something, to do this, but that's quite specific and maybe not very applicable today. The only thing that you need to make sure, if you're eligible, is that you need to comply with the mobility rule. And I want to explain that. It means that you need to be going to a new country. You cannot be doing this fellowship in the same country that you are in right now. It means that if you've been in a country for more than 3 years, you cannot do this. So you cannot do it in that country. So if you've been in Germany for 3 years, you cannot do it in Germany. If you've been in China for more than 3 years, you cannot do it in China. So for the last 3 years. So you need to be going to a new country. For most of you, this should not be a problem. And there's 2 different types. We have the global fellowships and the European fellowship. The global fellowships are for European residents to go to the world. So like that can include China. So if you're like a Chinese institution and you're interested in to get like a free researchers from Europe to do like 1 or 2 year job in your institution here in China, this is really something interesting for you to consider. Only thing you need to know is that after the 2 years, they need to go 1 year back to an institution in Europe. That's the only additional requirement for the global fellowship. So this is very good to know for you here in China, in case you would like to attract European researchers to your institution. Actually, we're very interested in this also. Of course, we would like to get a lot of Chinese researchers to Europe, but we are also interested to get European researchers to China if we can. Then there's the European Fellowship, and this is going to be the main focus of what I'm going to talk about now. This is from the world to Europe, or from one European country to another European country. And this is normally 1 to 2 years, and this is available to Chinese researchers, you know. So that is sort of like who can do it. Europe in this case is the 28 member states, or 27 without the UK, and the 14 associated countries. So the first thing you need to consider is like, where do you want to go in Europe? What country in Europe do you want to go to? This is open to third country applicants. So Chinese researchers can choose. I want to go to Germany. I want to go to France. I want to go to Italy. You don't need to be living in Europe when you apply. You can be applying right now from China. So this is totally open to you. But it is important that you realize that you cannot really apply alone. You need a host organization, and there needs to be a supervisor in Europe that supports your application. So I guess the first question, after you decided where in Europe you want to go, is who are you going to be working with? And this might be the most difficult part for a lot of researchers. And to just like really simplify it, you need to think about who do you know in Europe? Who can I work with in Europe? Because the best application are normally based on a good relationship with an institution. So it's good to have a good relationship already. So to be able to establish a relationship, you need to already be proactive, to go out there and network. You need to, try to make contacts when you go to conferences. You can try to cold approach people based on like what you know, who are the best in your field, or you could maybe ask your professor or colleague that have already been to Europe how to help you out to make some connections to Europe. Also just mobility in general, if you've done some studies in Europe or something, this could be also very helpful. But let's say that you don't really have anything here at this moment. What is the first thing that you can do right now to look for an institution to work with in Europe? Well, there's a lot of different tools that the European Union has available to help researchers to kind of figure out who are good partners. But I guess the one that I mostly want to talk about, well, first of all, Euraccess China is very good. That is us. We can help you. Just ask us. We can try to connect you with what you want. But also, you can look at the Euraccess hosting database. So this is actually exactly for Marie Curie individual fellowship to find a host institution. It's a whole database. And it's really, really, really good. I really encourage you to go there. You can go to this link that is here on the bottom. I will share the presentation after the event, so don't worry. And there's like more than 500 research opportunities to find hosting institutions in the database. You can search by different countries, by different fields. You can like go through it to find institutions. So how does this work? So for example, here are all universities that have come to us in Euraccess China, and they say, we want to get people to come to our university to do this fellowship. Why are they asking us? Because they really want, they want this. They want you, because they get money from the European Union if you join them. So they are very interested in getting you. This is not only you that are interested, they are also interested in getting you to work with them. So they go out there and they say, oh, we are looking for 20 people to apply together in this kind of project and things like this. So you can find this by going to the hosting database, and you can look by country and you can go through and see what kind of hosting offers are available. So this is our main contribution to this. We will try to help you out in this way. And so let's talk a little bit about what kind of host like these kind of hosts are. So you need to have a relationship with the host, and the host needs to be, if it's a European fellowship, the host must be in the member state or associated country. So one of the 27 member states of the European Union, or some of the associated countries. So member states include like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Holland, and Czechia, etc. But there's also associated countries like Norway and Switzerland that can also be have host institutions. So you can go to these countries, to their institutions there, and work with them. So these institutions, after you're successful apply, you'll get money from the European Union. It will go to the institution, and the institution will pay you the salary. So you will sign the grant agreement with the European Commission through the institution that you apply with. And these kind of institutions, they can be academic. So it can be like a public or private university. But it can also be like a non-profit research organization, or maybe, like CERN or like other big international research organizations in Europe. But that is not all. It can also be a non-academic host. It doesn't need to be university. It can also be, let's say, a company or an NGO, or let's say a hospital or a library. It can be a lot of different things. So you should definitely look into that if you're thinking about your research project in this way. And there are 4 different panels for European fellowships to apply in. So you have the standard EF. Most of you are going to be applying this one here. But it's worth to note that there are different panels. There's also a different panel for people that have not been doing research for a while and want to start doing research again. We call it career restart. There's also something called the research reintegration panel. This is for European citizens that want to go back to Europe. So that is like a special panel for the individual fellowship. And then there's also the society and enterprise. These are basically a special panel for people that want to work with a company or an NGO that is like a, how would you say, non-university kind of institution. So what is the difference between applying through these different panels? Well, the success rate is very similar, but different panels are evaluated differently. So you will basically be competing with people in similar situation like you. So that is the benefit of the panels. Then there's also the newest panel. This is called the Widening Fellowship. It's not really a Marie Curie Fellowship, but it still might be interesting because this is like an extra panel for people that would like to go to maybe countries in Europe that have less attention normally. Like you can see it on there, like Bulgaria or Albania or Hungary or Georgia. So like there's like these other countries that, you know, don't have a lot of people coming to them. They get like special money from the European Union. So you can choose if you are applying for Marie Curie. I apply for Marie Curie, but I also would like to be considered for this one. And this one has better success rate. So even if you didn't get the Marie Curie, you might be able to get this one here and get the money that is attached to that. So that is something to consider in case you want to increase your possibility to get the funding. Another thing that I think is interesting for people to learn is that the Marie Curie Individual Fellowship, they have something called secondments. So during your fellowship, you can go for part-time to another institution. So let's say that you are going to an institution in Spain, but then you get a secondment with another institution in Switzerland. You can get 3 months to maybe go to an institution in Switzerland to do some laboratory work, for example. If you're doing a longer fellowship, you could get up to 6 months. And this does not need to be continuously. You can go for several months. If this is something you want to do, you need to specify that when you apply, and you need to already have a cooperation with both institutions. The main host, where you're going to be most of the time, also the other institution where you want to do your secondment. So in a nutshell, you apply to this with your European host, and it is the host institution that signs the contract in the end if you're successful. Then it is the host institution that will employ you like you're an employer for them, and you'll get the money through them. And yeah. So what about the application? How do you go about that? First of all, the individual fellowship, we have to know that this is more than just a research project. I mean, what do I mean by that? Is that unlike a lot of research funding, the excellence of the research project itself is not the only thing that they're taking into consideration. They also, the purpose of it is also mobility, to make researchers go to a new place. It is also training through research. It's help researchers to develop more skills. So it's like help you to find ways how to organize and take part in events. It's like a lot of different things that are additional to just do research. So why am I mentioning this? It's just because when you're applying, you need to know what is the goal, what is the purpose of the Marie Curie actions? Because when you're going to be evaluated, they want to see if this fits what their goal is. They want to know, are the applicants and the applications in court, does it fit with what we're trying to get? So you need to make sure in your application that you emphasize what you're doing this. This is actually very good for you also. Why? Because the purpose of this whole thing is not just to use you to do research. You're not just like a workhorse for a university to make research for them. The purpose of this is to develop you, make you into a better researcher. So a little bit about the money. This is, of course, a thing that most researchers are very interested in. And I think you can, it's safe to say that the salary is quite competitive. So if you get the fellowship, the living allowance every month per person is about 4,880 euros. That is around 37,000 Chinese renminbi, which I think is pretty good salary and would be very good. But you have to take into account that this is before tax, and different countries have different taxes. So you need to work it out beforehand how you're actually going to get in the end. But there's also another factor. If you go to a very expensive country, you might get a little bit more. If you go to a very cheap country, you get a little bit less. And you can see, for example, Iceland you get 70% more. If you go to Romania, you get a little bit less. So that's how it works. There's also other money that you can get. For example, mobility allowance is about 600 euros, will allow you to go and travel, go to conferences and do other things like this. You can also get extra 500 euros for family in case you have, like, let's say, children or a spouse with you. And then the institution that you're working with, they get also money. They get money for research and training, and also some overhead and management. So the institution should never think that it's a burden to get you to come and join them. It's always going to be in their, it's always should be a benefit for them to have you. Not only are you going to add research capability to their institution, and not only is the EU going to pay for you, they're also going to pay all the extra costs for them. So this should be a very good deal for you and your institution. And the application is 10 pages, and the main proposal has like 3 main factors in it. The first one is excellence, the second is the impact of your research, and the third one is how you're going to implement it. And you also need to hand in a 5-page CV. And if it's applicable, you might need to put in like ethics section. And then there are tables with the details of host organizations. So like who you're applying with, they need to be in the application. It's all through an online portal that we have. You can see here the link to it. It's part of the funding and tenders portal that we have in the European Union. If you go to this link, you can see the topic. You can see all the information. You can, for example, go to one thing where it's called topic conditions and documents, and you can see all the additional documents that they give up. For example, they have like a proposal template, evaluation forms that you can study, and like you can look at like a model grant agreements, so you can see how the grant agreement looks like. And this is also where you actually apply for it. You apply through this link. So after this webinar, I will share this presentation and you can go and take a look. Then in the application, there are 2 parts. I already mentioned most of it, but let's just like clarify again. There's 2 parts. Part A is more like general information and like admin things like budget and things like this. Then in part B is the first document. And this is the main application, and it's 10 pages about your research, where you have to talk about the excellence of the research, impact, and the implementation. Then there's another document which includes your CV, information about the organization, and other things like this. After you apply, you're going to be evaluated by 3 experts in your field. It's very unlikely. There's like thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people that apply for this every year. So it's very unlikely you're going to get exactly people in your field specifically, but you're going to get 3 experts in one of the 8 panels that are here. So the panels are chemistry, physics, mathematics, life sciences, economics, information science and engineering, social sciences and humanities, environment, and geosciences. So you might ask yourself, which panel should I apply for? Well, you apply for the one where you want to be evaluated. If you're doing like a cross interdisciplinary research, you might ask yourself, what kind of experts do I want evaluating my research? It may be social scientists, or maybe I want geoscientists to evaluate it. So there are 3 experts that evaluate it, and this is very good because they will all give you feedback. And you can also see there needs to be two of them that have an agreement, so there can be never be any disagreement between them. And after you apply, even if you're not successful, you're going to get feedback from them, what they thought about your application, which is really good, gives you good information in case you want to apply again later. And the application evaluation is based on what we said before, the excellence of the research. This is 50% important. The importance of the impact is 30% and the implementation is 20%. So remember, I said this part of the application is like 10 pages. So it's really important to not forget anything that is mentioned here, because if you're going to be forgetting one of these parts, you're just going to lose points there. So it's advisable to just spend as much energy into each of this part as the important. So let's say that you finish all the 10 pages, which you should. Then 5 pages could be spent on the excellence, 3 pages on the impact, and 2 pages on the implementation. And you can see here in this table what they mean by excellence. It's like the quality and credibility of the project in terms of research, the supervision, how capable you are as a researcher to do this, etc. But we should not just forget ourselves and just do this, although it's very tempting. You also have to talk about the impact. And the impact means impact on the society and why this is important, but it also means the impact on your research career, because they are interested to know that also. Because remember, one of the goals is to develop you as a researcher. And then 2 pages or 20% should be on the implementation. That means like how good is your work plan, how believable is the implementation, how you want to manage this and do this, and is the institution capable to do exactly what you want to do, etc. So what happens after that? The European Fellowship, the results will be issued around February in 2021. So you apply in September, right? And in February 2021, you should have the results. So if you're successful, you should have a grant agreement through your host institution with the European Union by May 2021, so about 1 year from now. And you can start your fellowship immediately after that in June 2021. Or if you want to finish something else before you start, you can postpone it for up to 1 year until May 2022. But if you're not successful, then you can reapply to the 2021 call. And this one opens in April next year, 2021, and it has a deadline in September 2021. So if you're still eligible, you can apply for this again next year. And a lot of people need to do it twice. So that's very understandable. Or even more time sometimes before they become successful. And it's very good to try to apply this year, get the feedback, and you can use the feedback to make your application better next year. And this is the way that I know a lot of Chinese researchers have been able to get through. So the success rate between the different panels are quite similar. This is not a very good table, but this one is good. You can see here, these are the different panels of research, chemistry, and etc. In 2017, it was about 15% success rate, except for the society panel was a little bit higher. Normally, the success rate is between 15 and 18%, but the good news is this: you have the Chinese applicants so far have been more successful, with a success rate of almost 24%. So that's very good. We have more than 560 researchers from China that have gotten the individual fellowship so far. And I'm very proud to say that in the last years, it's been going up. So that's very, very good. So this is kind of the end of what I want to talk about. Here you can see like a slide with a lot of further information. There's a lot of different projects to help you out with this. I mean, we are here to help you. We can give you information. We are available in China for your assistance. But there's also something, I guess I want to underline this one here, Net for Mobility. So Net for Mobility is very important project. There are national contact points in every country in Europe, in Italy and Germany, etc. And these people, they will help you on your application. So if you know where you're going, if you're going to Germany, you can talk to them and give them your application, and they will go over it and they will tell you, oh, you need to fix this and this and this. Why do they do this? Because they are interested to get more fellows to their country. This is their goal. And I have experience with a lot of them. I have experience with the one in Germany and the one in Italy and so on. And they're very, very good and they're very helpful. And they are truly the expert. They go over hundreds of applications every year. So these are people you should definitely look into. But there's also a lot of different hints and tips you can find. You can go to the link here on this webpage after you get the presentation. And we have listed out like a guide for applicants, like different things that are available. I want to kind of finish up today by talking a little bit about the coronavirus situation. So first of all, I think the main thing to take into account is that this, if you apply now before September, you will never start until June 2021. So there's more than 1 year until your fellowship will start. So it's very unlikely that mobility is still going to be a problem then, although not impossible. The European Union has already said in March that they understand that there's a problem with the whole pandemic. So if you have an agreement, you sign it with them, and the pandemic then somehow affects you, so you cannot do it in the time that you wanted to do, they already said they're going to be super flexible. You just need to talk to your supervisor and talk to the people at the research agency of the European Union, and they will make sure to be flexible and adjust it so it's not going to be a problem, or you maybe need to change the timeline or do other things like that. So, okay, this is where I am at right now. I'm going to finish my presentation at this point. We have still like 15 minutes left over for Q&A, for some questions and answers. I just want to encourage you, if you want to learn more about EURAXESS, to add us here. This is our presentation on. This is our QR code for our WeChat channel, or you can go to the other QR code to join our group for this event, and can also ask us a question later or something like that. If you want to talk to us, you can talk to us there. Yeah, okay. So that is it. Let me see. Maybe Vanessa, are there any questions since I was talking?